Hey everyone, this is Ian Miller,
What's going on, guys? It's Andrew.
and welcome to another episode of Media Talk with Miller and Smith. Right now, we are recording on December 6th, 2023. We're now December, and my God, time is just moving way too fast.
Mm-hmm. It was like
But
it
we
was
have
like
guests
Thanksgiving a
tonight.
days ago.
Yeah, we have guests tonight. We have Zack and Chris from their podcast, Forgotten Heroes. Welcome, guys.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome,
I'm
guys.
glad to
Thanks
be
for having
back.
us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming on.
Thank you.
I gotta say, you guys are much nicer to your listeners than we are. We never include the dates when we say we're recording.
I've been doing it like the podcast I listen to. It's kind of like in a way like they don't know, but I could say you listen back plenty of times. I just like I peel the curtain back, like all right, this is when we're recording it. Whatever, I'll date this recording.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to see the other side of the curtain of a professional podcast. Is basically what I'm saying. You know, it's
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we actually have this is going to be part one of a series of discussions, and the topic is the state of Marvel films.
Mm.
As many of you know, they've been going downhill ever since we've seen the release of Avengers Endgame. So we're going to have an honest discussion. Where did they go wrong, and what steps they could take to get them back on the right track? So let's open the discussion.
All right, I'm going to start off with they've been going downhill since Endgame is definitely an opinion.
Mhm.
I have definitely seen Marvel should have stopped at Endgame. Oh my God, we're back. We should have stopped. We're back. Back and forth. It's like, well, I will agree. Not everything is written well written, however you want to say it.
Mhm.
It's not all of them. It's definitely been a few, but and this is again my opinion. I think if we look back to before Endgame, not all those movies were written well. I'm just going to name a few. Those that I know most people say, yeah. Thor 1, Thor 2, either Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, depending on who you are. I've definitely heard different people say they didn't like one or the other.
Okay.
Those are honestly the major ones I can think of. But even then, like, you know, when people like, okay, Quantum Mania, I'll admit, it's trying to be too funny. I think I was like, or even then, actually, not even that. Some people didn't even like Ant-Man or Ant-Man and Wasp, you know, but those were before Endgame. Captain Marvel was before Endgame, but for me, I'm just like, you gotta like, whenever it's an origin story, it's like, take it with a grain of salt because it's like this person's just getting in here. You know, if it's Iron Man, or if it's Thor 4, does not have an excuse to me. And it's not even like they butchered gore, pun intended, or whatever the case people try to say. I think he tried to be too funny, and it's like you lost the whatever. I can never say his name. Who was the director?
Taika Waititi.
Sorry, thank you, Taika Waititi. Whatever he did in Thor 3 was great. I think he did too much for 4, and that's where we got lost. And if somebody says the CGI is bad, first off, stop it, because I'm not fully disagreeing with you. However, they have and I'll agree, they have too many projects. The CGI is spread out in certain places. Okay. But also, we don't know if there was meddling behind the scenes with directors or whatever the case is. We don't know that. Case in point, people like to show the Heimdall's son's head. Like, okay, yeah, that wasn't great. I'll admit, it wasn't great. But we don't know what happened in the background to cause that. Or somebody goes like She-Hulk, the CGI there. First off, it's a show. It doesn't need to be blockbuster.
Yeah.
And if somebody goes, oh, but Loki's extra, and that's Loki to a T. So yes, of course it's going to look like a blockbuster because the main character is extra as hell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, but I think it's the state of Marvel is like, yes, there's some problems with some of the movies, but also I think it's the fandom. They're personally, I sometimes I think to an extent they're expecting too much. We can't always have Endgame. We had build up to Endgame. Not every movie can be Endgame.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
relax yourself. It's the same, and also it's like, Ian, I know you're a comic book writer, so it's like comic books. You have a writer who writes a certain amount of issues for a character, and then they move it to another one. That guy could write them completely different, could write out things that the other guy did. It's the same thing with the movies. You have different directors. Kevin's trying to be like consolidate everything, but you can't. You can't always do that.
Yeah, that actually is parallel to what's happening in Marvel comics right now, because you guys obviously read some of the storylines that are happening right now, and a lot of them are kind of lackluster. Yeah, Zach, I'm looking at your face right now. You're absolutely agreeing with me on this.
Okay. Yep. Axe, to my knowledge, to the bigger audience, Axe did nothing. The AXE event did nothing. It did do something, but nothing that anybody really talks about. The fall of X. I think that's going fine. It is spread out. I think that's fine. The Sins of Sinister. What the? I don't know if we can. Are we allowed to curse in this?
I've got I'll bleep you out, so you can curse. I'll just bleep you out.
Okay, I just wanted to ask. What the was that? There was no point to that. I don't understand it. I would say that right now I know they just started Gang War for Spider-Man, and I think that one already is starting to look better than like big overarching things. Or even then, how about anybody remember the Avengers Beyond thing of like the time travel? Yeah. I didn't even fully read that, so I don't really know what happened. I don't really know what it did at the end of it because it was so long.
Oh God!
And the fact that we're not seeing larger ripples throughout the comics universe tells you that it didn't really do much, right? So I agree with you, Zach, and I think one of the reasons that, if I can jump in on here, I don't know if you're done, Zach. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, I am completely done.
I really like the point that you said about us building the universe to Endgame, and I want to reiterate that. That was 10 years of build-up. That was 10 years of origin stories and like little team-ups here and there, right? And when I say little team-ups, there's still little team-ups within the universe until we got to like big names like Civil War, and we started introducing characters and introducing teams alongside it.
Yeah.
So I think what's tough is that we have such a big spectacle like Endgame, and then we lose a lot, as is on par with all good stories, because you have high risk, so therefore you have high reward. You lose people, but at the same time it's a well-told story because there's consequences. And now we have to build back up again, and we have another threat that's been introduced. And I say introduced, I'm going to do this in air quotes, because we don't even know if we're going to keep going forward with him in Kang. And I have my own issues with that, but once again, that happens to align with what Zach said, with muddling and behind the scenes stuff, with what's going on with Jonathan Majors in his personal life.
I think I saw something that I want to find. I want to find it to clarify, but I'll keep going. I'm sorry. I think I saw an update on that.
No, you're good. But at the same time, we're still getting announcements telling us that they are continuing to build the universe, with the recent sort of announcement with Pedro Pascal filling in for Reed Richards, which we haven't had a chance to talk about it on our podcast, so I'll talk about it here. Yeah. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I'm wary, because it's not really. I love Pedro as an actor, but I won't get too much into casting. I want to talk about the universe as a whole. We also started with a very conservative superhero, Iron Man. He was kind of like a very big kickoff for
not even that.
Marvel.
He was, in terms of comic book characters, he was, I'd say, a C-lister in terms of the comic book world. Like nobody.
And he was elevated. He was the leader. We had an Iron Man movie before we had a Captain America movie. The guy who
Yeah.
was supposed to lead came second seat, which is crazy. And one of the reasons why it worked so well, because it was fresh and it was new. And we have a new face. And people fell in love with Tony Stark. I fell in love with Tony Stark. I didn't really give two shits about Tony, especially after I read Civil War Part 1, and I thought that he kind of coerced Peter into revealing his secret identity in the comics. After that, I hated Tony Stark for a long time.
Yeah.
And the movies made me like him because it showed that he was fallible. It was able to show how he growed. You know, how originally the suit was meant to protect him when he's in the caves, when he's captured in the first movie, and his final suit is built so that he is the only one who doesn't survive. That is incredible character growth. But at the same time, we're still starting with a superhero who comes from a very specific political side.
Yeah.
And I won't get too deep into politics, but once again, if you're going to say that comic books and media like this aren't ingrained with politics, I'm going to disagree with you right there. Nobody's saying that, but I'm just going to make that statement for myself.
I was going to say, you and I have talked about this a lot, Chris.
We have.
And sorry, and I don't want anybody to think we're stealing media talk show right now, but it's always been, I think, what was it? Captain America. You guys can remind me. Captain America punching Hitler on the cover of Captain America 1. That happened before we were at war. So, like,
Or
if somebody
Namor versus Iron Man.
Yeah, if it's like with comics, Marvel's not political. They've always been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stanley has had soapboxes of like the political issues. If anything, they're not political. What the heck are the X-Men stand-ins for? Literally any minority.
Civil rights. Yeah.
All of them. That's what they are. They're a stand-in for all minorities.
Yeah,
So-
and
Okay.
you're able to actually tell the stories through that way that other people aren't talking about, especially with deals with real life. I mean, look at Spider-Man, for example. You have a character, Harry Osborn, in the 1970s had a drug substance abuse, and that didn't get okay by the Comics Authority people. So Stan's like, you know what? I'm just gonna print it anyway because people need to learn about this.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things now is that one of the biggest sort of concerns or biggest gripes that I hear about the Marvel Universe nowadays is the different types of stories that we're getting. She-Hulk was a big one. Kamala Khan was a big one. Even just like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel was received kind of weirdly. And I think that's because we started from a point of Tony Stark, and now we recognize that while that is a really good jumping off point, if we want to continue the legacy of this universe and this fandom that we have started to build, we need to tell other types of stories, right?
Yeah.
And I think, Black Panther was a really good first foray, a first step into that. If you guys can think of any other movies that celebrated diversity or were more of a first step, please let me know. But I remember the hype around Black Panther was huge. One, because he's one of the coolest characters of all time, one of the most powerful characters, like amazingly so, richer than Tony Stark. And now we're introducing him into the MCU with Tony Stark still a significant player, right? And like, how do you manage all of that? And so I think one of the biggest things for me that showed how political Marvel still is and how splitting it can still be is She-Hulk. Personally, I love She-Hulk. I thought that was an amazing Marvel project. I think they hit the nail on the head with the fourth wall breaks and sort of the satirical approach, and the fact that they wrote that so well and still got the exact same response that they were expecting years after the fact pays testament to how well they created the show and the importance of working as a team and telling different types of stories within this universe. I think is all very, very important. And I think bridging that gap into the X-Men is going to be another really good way to reach more of an audience, not only because it's the X-Men, but because, as Zach highlighted, it's literally like the civil rights group of the Marvel Universe.
And I think, okay, because you mentioned the X-Men and Kamala, and I want to mention, as a comic book fan, Part of me is fine if you make changes in the comic books because of the movies, the Guardians, literally their looks, most of their history. Heck, I mean, Thanos being the adopted father of Nebula, not the adopted grandfather or whatever the heck they used to be.
Mhm.
But turning Kamala into a mutant for MCU, I'm okay with that. It makes sense because the Inhumans show sucked.
Yeah.
However, making her a mutant in the comics is dumb. Because I remember looking into this, and because it's like the four of us know she's an Inhuman. If the mutant gets in contact with the Terrigen Mist, they die. So how the hell is she also a mutant? And Professor X is like, they resurrect her. Professor X is like, oh well, your mutant gene was forced closed, so it really wasn't like fully open when you became an Inhuman. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, that is the biggest load of shenanigans that you could have ever given me. And I don't like. And what is she doing now? Absolutely nothing. She's not doing anything relevant to the Fall of X story. She's just there.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that also speaks to that's not to get too political. We got a little political, not to get too political. That speaks to sort of like the horrors of capitalism. And that's the last time I'll say it. I know it's a dirty word. I'm sorry. But like the whole thing, once again, you're trying to just
say,
like
audience,
link it.
if you can't tell, Chris loves his soapbox. Don't worry, I'll kick him off of it in a second.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question for somebody else to talk after this, I promise. But it's really just like that to me felt like a cash grab. I agree with you there, Zach. You're going to change something very vital that we loved about a character in the comics after she gets her moment on the silver screen and then make her irrelevant. They did her dirty. I fully agree with you. And that really just felt like Master and Mouse trying to grab as many cents and dollars as they could out of people for like big flashy headlines and then disappoint them with the source material. I'm interested to see what Ian and Andrew think was sort of like a big point for the tipping of the scales in quality after Endgame. I want to hear from you guys.
Okay. You all remember the movie Internals, right?
Oh yeah.
So Chris and I saw it. I remember Chris and I saw it together.
We saw it together, yeah.
And Troy. Chris, I'm so sorry, Ian.
We're gonna let you talk, but wait.
This is what happens. You get four comic book nerds in a room together, virtually or in person. As people who read the books, I liked the movie. Marketing was against them, though. Go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
Well, it was definitely marketing was definitely against them. I think the problem was, the story. I think was just there was too much in there. You could have easily just split the movie into two movies because that's what it felt like. Instead of going back and forth across the timelines, you could have just started in the past, then move slowly into the modern age. That's part one. Then part two, you have the whole conflict. You see what I'm saying? Trying to fit too much in the movie, it didn't work. Liked a lot of the characters, liked a lot of the ideas, but still, it didn't work that way because again, it was too much. It was too condensed. And I have to point out another thing. This was pointed out to me a while ago. That big statue in the middle of the ocean.
Yep.
How come no one's talked about it? Why isn't it seen in space?
Well, Zach and I have frequent discussions about this.
Yes, the only thing that has ever made mention of it was a little side thing when She-Hulk was on the internet and it just says mysterious new island. I don't know what it says. And that's literally it. It's like off to the side. I think, or how about better yet, Ian? The whole world, and nobody can tell me, the whole world didn't experience Moon Knight shifting the sky back a few thousand years. Like, come on. Nobody raised an eyebrow to that.
Yeah.
This is the thing that nobody talks about this, folks. Some of us is just meant to just watch and just accept it, but nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
I like to imagine Shield or Damage Control or whoever the hell's around has been trying to block it, but I'm like, you can block it all you want. Once somebody physically sees it, I'm sorry.
And honestly, I wouldn't hate that approach if we sort of had Damage Control as sort of like this shadowy operator who was
Yeah.
trying to like spread a little bit of like maybe like a propaganda about like, oh, it's here, but like you didn't see that, right? Type thing, and sort of have them be kind of sinister and sort of push that agenda, but at the same time have people be like, yeah, they don't say it's there, but everybody knows it's there, where it's like the secret that's not a secret. That would be nice. I agree with you there, Ian. There are definitely some big moments that are not. We have a celestial sticking out of the South Sea or something like that, and nobody's mentioned it. Yeah,
Actually, that'd be kind of pretty funny, either movie or even a short. With one of those one-shot shorts, and then they'll be like, "Okay, guys, we have a red alert. Everyone saw this. Okay, what do we do to just keep it on the down low? Okay, this is a clearly serious situation. We have to clean this up, but seriously, everybody saw this."
or like better yet, they could use it to further the story of another hero, or maybe introduce another hero.
Yeah.
That maybe is aligned with Damage Control or some other organization like that, right? And then we have that character as part of the universe too, for them to sort of like get creative and play around with,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I agree with you guys there. Those little pieces, I think, are they're little design choices. But to speak on Eternals, I think I agree with you there, Ian. It was definitely way too much for one movie.
Yeah.
I think making the movie longer would have made it even better for me. Splitting the movie into two is an interesting idea. I like the idea of you doing sort of like a Lord of the Rings thing, where you introduce the team in one movie, and then like a year later we get part two, kind of like with Endgame and Infinity War. So it's still fresh, and we still know what's going on. I like that idea, and I honestly didn't consider that. And that was the first movie of its type, right? They're introducing a whole team, an entire new cast of characters, and they're trying to do it in like what, 200 minutes? Like that's a lot.
And expand upon the cosmic side of the universe.
Right, and introduce Celestials, which are a huge factor in the comics and in the source material. Always have been.
Yeah, don't you think you would want a whole film dedicated to just that, instead of just some they're just in just, well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also nothing saying that they couldn't have introduced more of the Celestial side in the Guardians.
I also Chris and I sat there when we saw Arishem and he showed the other Celestials. I'm like, okay, great. Where's the Celestial population controller? Where's Galactus? Give me hockey stick head. What does Hulk call him? Hockey stick helmet? I don't know, something stupid.
I was waiting on bated breath for that after credits scene until friggin' Harry Styles popped up. I was so excited to see Galactus.
Yes.
And then
what did we call?
Dude. Yeah. I mean, Pip
by all
Patrol
means,
was kind of cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Ian, if you feel like you gotta bleep what I'm about to call him, by all means. Chris, what did I call him? What did I call it? Star Fox?
Oh, I'm gonna let you. Yeah.
All right. No, it's so funny. Chris and I are sitting in the theater, and I hear people go, "Who the hell is that?" It's Chris, and I look at Chris and I go, "Did they seriously just put in the Date Rape Avenger?"
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I am sorry, folks. I definitely have to bleep that out. I am sorry.
No, by all means, bleep it. Look, that's not. I didn't come up with that. I just wanted to say it. By all means, bleep it. I am so sorry. If you want to hear the unbleeped version, come to my podcast.
Come on over to Forgotten Heroes, where we've definitely already said it.
Oh, we've said it before. But I'm very sorry, Ian. But I bleep it. I don't care. Save yourself. That's fine. But you can't tell me Because I remember he went on trial for abusing his emotional control powers. Like, hello?
It's an
Why
interesting
would you
character
put
to
him in
assign
the
to a pop
universe?
star.
That was funnier.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like Andrew's been quiet this whole time.
Yeah,
No,
David,
I'm
please
just,
say something.
I'm just, taking
just-
it all
yes.
in. Just- no, feel free.
Okay.
I think Eternals was definitely the starting point of, or at the very least, like a checkpoint or a flag or whatever have you, of Marvel Studios biting off more than they could chew. I agree there. That being said, I don't think it was an awful movie. I think there are definitely some holes, but at the same time, if one of those characters came back with a coming conflict in future projects, I would not be upset to see them.
I
I
agree.
would be happy.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it could be cool. And once again, it would link the universe more. Whenever Marvel gets cosmic, in my opinion, that's some of its best stuff. It can also be some of its worst stuff. So you really gotta like be
Thor
careful.
4.
Yeah.
Okay. We get it. We understand. We sympathize. That was definitely another red flag right there.
Yeah.
They focused more on the love story on that than the actual story of the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, you and I saw it with Andrew. I mean, we all that we we talked about how it was all focused on the love story, and they should have added more, of the main story in there. But
Yeah, Gore felt. I really liked it when Gore was on screen. I
Yeah.
feel like I wanted a little
Yeah.
bit more. Because, like, honestly, like, we all know that Christian Bale's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
If you've seen a movie, you know that he can do it. So just, like, give him some crazy lines, give him some, like, sketchy makeup and, like, weird contact lenses, and just let the dude go. He
I
could have
think-
done Gore. I could have watched him. I could have watched a Gore movie. Gore is such a cool villain.
I think he not maybe this isn't Christian Bale. Just behind the scenes, I think they tried to make him a little too funny. Like when he made said jokes, no, don't try to be funny. Stay creepy and make these
Yeah.
jokes. Like
When he was creepy, he was best. I agree.
stay
Yeah.
creepy. Like that's fine. I'm fine with that. Eternity in that movie, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't want. You know what? I didn't need him to say anything because he doesn't normally get involved in literally anything. I don't. Part of me feels weird that there's a place in the universe to find eternity. I'm like, that's weird to me.
Mhm.
Normally, he pulls you out of his own out of existence and just and speaks to you or shows up to you. I mean, he's talked to Quasar. He's talked to the Defenders. He's talked to Galactus. He's talked to Hank Pym for whatever reason. And I don't know, him just being there as a MacGuffin, I'm like, I mean, sure, introduce him, but why are you the MacGuffin of the movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That was. I agree with you. I think Taika really. He saw that he could do funny Thor and Ragnarok.
Mhm.
And I think he just like took it a little too far. I agree. There were things I liked. I mean, I love his style. I love the
Yeah.
bright sort of retro colors and the like crazy metallic 80s lettering. I really like how Christian Bale portrayed Gore for the most part. There are things about the movie that I enjoyed. That being said, the pacing was a little weird, and I think it was a little bit too humor filled to the point where I was just kind of like, it felt like I was watching his approach for like what we do in the shadows, and then he just kind of put it on a Marvel movie,
Yeah,
which is
I
another
agree.
great project of Taika Waititi's. It's an incredible movie and a great show.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work with Thor's character personally.
No.
And Jane, I think I wanted more of Jane Foster Thor. I felt kind of shortchanged because she is like super big deal in the
Yeah.
source material, and
Yeah.
I felt like we got beep like a little like I got a crumb. I want to see more, And once again, I think that's partially because of like behind the scenes stuff with Natalie Portman and things like that. And so we definitely have to acknowledge, that we have so many different people creating visions for different heroes in the universe, and it's really tough to bring them all together in one cohesive piece. And first of all, have everybody like it, but also write a story as well as Endgame was written. And I think a great
Right.
example of that before Endgame is Age of Ultron, who, if we have any listeners from Forgotten Heroes who are turning in, you know me, I have major issues with Age of Ultron and how characters were written. And I
Okay.
think that's a great example of a director, a writer, a producer who are coming from a very specific point
Mhm.
and are putting certain ideologies of themselves on the characters and not writing the character.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something you need to take into account too, is that when you tell different stories, you're going to get different lenses.
You know, you actually bring up an interesting point here, because this is what I think they should do going forward. You know, especially you have these different directors and different writers on these different projects, and this is very similar to what they do in the editors' room at comic companies. Is that you sit down with your director and your writers from the different projects. You sit them down saying, okay, this is what the plan's going to be like, you know, going forward, what we want to see, you know, in the movies. So what we have to do is this: we have to make sure that, yes, you can have your own vision here, but this all has to be connected. We have to make sure that nothing, you know, doesn't make sense. You know, they all have to link together. So if we can figure out a way to say, okay, we can have this in here, but we need to put this in here, so this makes sense. You know, because I think that way everyone is on the same page, and nobody's gonna, you know, say, okay, this film didn't do too well. We have to make sure that this one does slightly better. You know what I'm saying?
And I think a really great example of that is Secret Invasion,
Yeah.
where we have big characters who we found out have been Skrulls for a long time, and we don't have a very clear timeline for when they've been here or how long they've been here. And so I think specifically talking about retcons in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't think we should be doing retcons on the big screen, personally. I
No.
think there's a time and place to do that in the comics, because there's plenty of times that it's been done in the comics and it hasn't been done well. So I think trying to do that on the big screen makes it really, really tough. And Secret Invasion was also, it started so well. I was really excited in episode 1 and 2, and then as it progressed, it just got foggier. It felt like they didn't really know how they were establishing the scrolls, and it
Yeah.
was kind of a big issue for me personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. And at some point, it was like, did were they in the? Did they write this? I mean, were they asleep? Were they writing this? Did they
Yeah,
not read any of the comics? Did they
yeah,
not think, how do we get to from point A to point B? What
right,
was the plan here? What happened?
right. And I do love that we got a Super Scroll, a couple Super Scrolls. As funky as it looked, it was a nice callback, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this." Like, I remember when I was a kid, sitting next to my hearth, in upstate New York, and my
Mhm.
stepdad handed me the comic book for the Super Scrolls, and it made me start reading about the Scrolls. That was like the whole thing that kicked it off for me. I
Yeah.
started at the end, and then I went back, and that was like a big thing for me. So me personally, that kind of like fulfilled a little bit of the childhood in me. But us getting to that point, it was just written weirdly, and it was just kind of like, they've always been here. And it's like, yeah, but you're not really telling us how they've always been here. Like, Rhodey's just been a scroll since Civil War, I guess, because we take him out of the pod at the end and he needs help walking. And I was like, oh, okay, so they've like been here a very long time. And somehow Fury hasn't picked up on this. I think it would have worked better for me if it was maybe a prequel show.
Mhm.
And I think talking about a little bit more, I like that they like really leaned into Fury. I love Samuel L. Jackson's portrayal of Nick Fury. I think he brings a really cool, fresh take to it.
Yeah.
And I think instead of doing retcons with the Skrulls, if we push this a little bit farther back in the timeline and saying, hey, this has been happened. And then sort of like that would give us a little bit more room for like some extra end credit scenes or like a scroll running around here and there and things like that. I think that would make it a little bit better. But as I'm saying it out loud, I still think I would have issues with it. I think just the scrolls weren't handled well. And once again, that's another cosmic aspect where it's another race that we're introducing to the Marvel Universe that has big ramifications, that is just not written correctly or not fleshed out well enough to be introduced, in my opinion.
You see, folks, we have all the answers, but unfortunately, Marvel ain't listening.
Yeah.
No.
At the end of the day, it's still a big Disney conglomerate, and thankfully, we're not running under the board anymore. Now we have like a little bit more creative control with directors and things like that, because when it was first established, we had the Marvel board, and that's how we got like Thor: The Dark World, which is like very meh.
The less said is better. The
Yeah.
less said is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and we, as we said earlier, Andrew and I actually did see the Marvels.
Yeah.
Andrew, what would you say our thoughts were on the Marvels at when we first saw it?
I mean, when we first saw it, we thought it was actually, it was really good, but we thought it could have been more,
Yeah.
But I just liked, the team up like from the three, like all three of them.
Yeah.
That's for me, but especially, you and I and Andrew talked about it. We just said, the story could have been stronger.
Yeah, and there was a lot of what the hell moments in there.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the Marvels yet, please stop watching the episode.
Yes, please log off now.
Okay, now that's taken care of. Yeah. The what the hell moment from the Marvels was the cat creatures eating people.
The Flerkens?
Yes.
Yeah, that.
And
Chris, you saw the Marvels, right?
I haven't, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. I am very willing to participate in the discussion, and I'm brushed up on Photon and everybody like that. And I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it and form my own opinions, anyways. So
Fair.
You guys talk about it, and
Okay.
based on what I hear, I'll give you my opinion without seeing it. And then when I see it, Zach and I will go into a little bit more detail on the podcast.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, the Flerken thing, I think, was in some of the trailers. I don't think they specified necessarily what was going on, but you go back and look at any of these trailers, you just see a bunch of Flerken.
Yeah, but the fact
cats,
that
whatever the heck you want to call them.
but the fact that there are multiple and they're eating people off the space station, and they're playing memory from the musical Cats while this is happening, I'm like, oh my god, have we been reduced to this? Seriously?
This sounds like a bad joke from what I'm getting from you, Ian. So
It's a joke, yes.
Yeah, I think for when it happens and what's going on around them, I mean, listen, if you gotta do that job, and you got all these creatures with like pocket dimensional stomachs, like
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. How those people were still breathing, I don't understand, but we don't even get into that. So
no. Yeah, but that was one of the what the hell moments in there.
the other what the hell moments was definitely the mid credits, which we're not going to talk about because
major stuff happens there.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, and there is only one. There's only mid credits.
Yeah.
End credits was just a cute little like you hear them meowing, whatever.
And folks, no cats were actually harmed in the making of this movie.
No, because they weren't cats; they were Flerken, so it's fine.
I feel like they associated the Flerken with the first Captain Marvel movie too, so it was just kind of like they had to bring him back because anytime you can disguise a cute and cuddly creature as like a horrible cosmic monstrosity, it's always fun.
Why are you talking about Ted like that?
Listen, I love Ted, and I'm definitely not scared of him. So
Let's stick to the Marvels and then we talk about Werewolf by Night because I have an opinion on this last holiday. The villain's motives. I think I kind of okay, I get it. However, most of what happened and why they're doing what they're doing was off screen, and I'll be like, I would have liked to have seen that more.
Yeah.
You know, and this is also from the trailer. What I'm about to say, so this is not a spoiler. The Bengals. What the heck? I liked it. I'm confused how they ended up on two different sides of the galaxy, but whatever. I guess again, something not written. I don't think was written well. And the entangling of their powers. Yeah, I get it. But they also, when I really got to it, it kind of sounded like it was partly somehow Ms. Marvel's fault. Not her directly, but because of her bangle and how it's connected to what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of is because of her. Like if she didn't have the other one, I don't think the entangling would have happened. It also would be helpful if people stopped touching things.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Them learning to keep fighting when they switch, that was cool. I
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
Let's be 100% honest. I don't think their parents, the family needed to be involved, but they kept them there. Because I think people kept saying that they may or may not have been one of what people didn't like in terms of the show. Because they were too much.
Yeah, I didn't think it was really necessary.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, but you could just been like, oh, we're taking Miss Marvel. Bye.
yeah.
I mean, but Kamala is still a very young hero.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they
I think-
all when they started?
They are. Well, I
was
mean,
gonna say, wasn't Spider-Man in high school when he first started in terms of the comics?
Yeah.
right. But the thing with Spider-Man is that half of his parental unit is already, kicked it. So, like, if
And the
you
other
can-
one is still pretty old.
right, and I have my own problems with sexy Aunt May. But listen,
Sexy Aunt May.
There you go.
Well,
I
listen,
mean, it's Marissa Tomei. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No.
yeah, I was gonna say Spider-Man
It's-
gets younger, so does Aunt May apparently.
Dude, unbelievable. I'm still a Rosemary Harris stan through and through. But
Hey, she played Aunt May. That woman played Aunt May down to a T. In the
oh,
original
she's
trilogy.
perfect. She's
Yep.
perfect. She is literally the best. I will not be taking questions at this time. Anyways, I think if you can tell a family story with Kamala, especially since it's from a different culture, they're going to.
Yep.
Once again, haven't seen the movie, so maybe I'll get to it and be like, yeah, we didn't need this. It seems like there were added minutes. That's entirely possible, and I can see that point.
Yeah.
But coming from reference of the show and her origin still being very, very fresh, I think in the show it was definitely vital to sort of like have that family and have her have the character development with her mom and have their relationship grow. Because that helps Kamala grow as a character. And so I think my question for you guys would be, does the family bring developments to the plot, or are they purely just like a side joke to keep the viewers kind of entertained?
Well, I think there are moments where they actually do add to the plot, especially where Kamala is, just part of this vast universe,
Mhm.
dealing with these different entities, different villains. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there are moments in the film where they do add, some sort of emotional, bond there. So
Gotcha.
that's definitely evident. But a lot of the times in the film, I felt there were a lot of jokes that I felt were unnecessary, but there are moments where they're really trying to help.
Yeah.
Which is something you don't necessarily see in a lot of these Marvel movies.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of guys in the chair, and
Yeah.
and we didn't have that that term even coined until some of the more recent Spider-Man movies.
Until
You know, and-
Homecoming, and my girlfriend and I actually just watched Homecoming the other day.
Yeah.
And when you said "guy in the chair," I was reminded of when Ned got caught in the school library during prom, and I just started during Homecoming, and I just started laughing. I'm not repeating what he said, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with you, Ian. I think there were definitely parts where they they helped with the plot. I think there were definitely parts where it was like they were a replacement for the average person. You know, they were stand-ins for them. My only thing is I realized this. This is me nitpicking. When they swapped, like, if Goose was in one of their arms, Goose went with them. So I'm like, part of me is like, but I thought you guys swap. Why is Goose switching?
Yeah, I think that was that was either the director's choice or they were just like, you know, why don't we just as a side gag, let's just make sure that Goose switches. It did make sense to me.
I was gonna say, like, if they were showed, like, let's say one of them was holding something else and it didn't swap with them, you make the excuse of, well, Goose is a Flurkin and Flurkins are special. Sure. But I think I don't know if I also can't remember like if they were holding anything else and they swapped. Did that go with them? I don't remember.
Yeah,
Andrew, what'd you think?
I don't. Yeah, no. I mean, I agree with you. I don't. Yeah, I don't think they really took anything that went with them. But no, I mean, I don't know. I mostly agree with what you guys said. I mean, it's some of the parts in there that they didn't really need the parents, like to fit the plot, but like say like when they're on Fury's ship, you know. I mean, I don't know if they really needed the parents there, or you know, they could have just left them home, you know. You know, they really didn't need them there to just, you know, look after Kamala or whatever. But no, but I agree.
And then I would say and then the other side of this MCU coin are the shows, which we've definitely touched on a little bit. No one has talked about anything happening with Moon Knight. I'm sorry, but when the sky goes backwards and there's two kaiju fighting in Egypt, someone's gonna notice.
Yeah.
I'm concerned, or better yet, people's souls get sucked out of their bodies and eaten by a giant alligator lady. That
damage control.
I swear, damage control is starting to sound a lot more like Hammer to me.
Yeah. No, facts. Big time.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody knew about anything going on with She-Hulk. Kamala Khan, that was 100%. You know, we saw damage control with them. They were like, yeah, no, we're going to keep this under wraps a little bit. Werewolf by Night, that little mini movie.
Yeah.
Loved it in black and white. It was good. But this past October, they released it in color. Now, I have yet to fully watch it because every time I look at it and I'm like, I'm going to watch this. Part of me is just like, yeah, but you already saw this. So why are you going to watch it again?
And what did you think?
I mean, I still haven't turned it back. Still haven't turned it on to watch it in color. But part of me thinks like, I get worried that it's like, why did they release this? Again, almost a cash grab kind of. I'm just like, well, if we just release it again, you know, but in color this time, I don't know. Maybe it was just like a fun, like, now you can see how everybody looked because you only got color a little bit toward the end. The What If show, self-contained, it's doing its own thing.
Yeah.
WandaVision, that was the biggest. That was the big, the first one. So it was, you know, that one was definitely could have been a movie, but I could see why they didn't make it that because they didn't want to rush it.
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. First off, it should be Falcon and Bucky because he doesn't go by Winter Soldier anymore. That one I can also see this becoming a movie could be too rushed, but it was a needed evolution for the future. What else? Hawkeye. Nobody's gonna know what's going on with Hawkeye. They're street level. Like, okay, whatever. I liked Kingpin showing up. I think I keep seeing things. People have a problem with him showing up, of like he didn't do anything or he wasn't the true whatever. I'm like, look, it was an introduction to him showing up. He is now in the universe. Prepare for more. The Groot, the I am Groot things. I didn't watch them. The holiday special was cute for the Guardians.
Yeah.
And again, Secret Invasion, I don't know. I felt like that was rushed and could have kind of been a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
And I've been avoiding saying this next one because holy crap. Loki, though, phenomenal.
Loki is
Um,
currently carrying the MCU.
Phenomenal. And
No doubt
it
about
was but again, nobody knows what's going on because it's in the background.
Yeah.
It's background of the multiverse.
Yeah, even the character development of Loki in that series is just phenomenal. I'm like,
Oh my god,
no.
yeah.
Of course, this is a variant from the 2012 Loki,
Mhm.
but the way he's developed is just wow. That was like it was mind blowing, and also
Yeah.
the storylines. You really cared about the other characters, the TVA, and just when you get to Kang at the end of season 1, you're like, okay, this guy knows what happens until a certain point. He could very well be the most dangerous entity in the multiverse. And of course, he kills him, and you're like, what have you done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely. Oh.
Are we losing it?
I think we did.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys timestamp it, but I'll keep going.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Just keep going. Yeah. He'll.
All right, cool.
He'll work it out. Yeah.
Yeah, to sort of bring it back a little bit from Loki to Zach's point about Kingpin, I also think that Kingpin was a big setup for Echo coming up too, which I think is going to be kind of like a play test for them for approaching a little bit more of a mature rating with some of the upcoming Marvel projects. I don't know how they're going to handle Blade, but I think that could definitely fall into a little bit more of a mature rating. I mean, the original Daredevil show definitely falls into that area. You could argue that Jessica Jones does too. Luke Cage and Iron Fist, yeah, kind of. I think I'm less inclined to say that because those weren't as good as Daredevil or Jessica Jones, in my opinion. But I do think that he was a setup, and I think Echo is going to be a little bit of an experiment to see how it's received by fans. And I also think Werewolf by Night was kind of an experiment to see how we could sort of approach a little bit more of the supernatural in the Marvel universe and see how that fit. And I think that was also done with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness too.
Yeah.
And I think having an acclaimed horror director direct that, Sam Raimi, is also gonna present a very specific approach to that type of story. So I think the possibilities are there to tell a little bit more gritty, surface level, mature stories and still orient it within the universe. I mean, one, because Daredevil's dating She-Hulk, right? So you have that option right there too. But I think, me personally, I'm interested to see how this continues to shape out. And I think my biggest thing is just like avoiding retcons and just trying to keep it as cohesive as possible, And
Yeah.
it's the big issue that they run into with comics too.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. We're still trying to get Ian up. Don't know what's going on with him. Hopefully, he'll be back on soon.
Technical
Um,
difficulties.
yeah.
So Ian kind of cited Eternals for him. Do you agree with him, Andrew, or
Yeah.
you see a
Yeah.
different?
No, I mean, I definitely agree with him. Okay, he's coming back on in a minute. But yeah, no, I agree with him. I mean, going back to, you know, what you guys were talking about with all the shows and stuff. I mean, um, for me, it's like the beginning when Zach was talking about like Falcon and how it should be Bucky and all like I think like it how can I say it? It really didn't have a specific phase in of where the timeline was taking place. And like whether Secret Invasions was taking place after this movie or where it was in the MCU. But I mean, for me, I feel like the shows are, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, Chris or Zach, or but I mean, the beginning of the shows were great, like WandaVision, Falcon, but as as they were starting to make more shows, after Loki, I feel like that's been taken away from like all the movies. I don't know if you agree with me. Like, I mean, some shows were really good, and some shows were bad. Like not bad, but not bad, but like they weren't at its best. But yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like the movies are a lot better than like I said, like the shows were the beginning of the shows were good, but the movies were. I feel like the movies more than the shows. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not.
I think it depends on the project for me.
Yeah.
I like. I mean, I've always loved street level stories.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things that attracted me to Spider-Man, is
Right.
that he can very much just like be doing his own thing off in the comics.
Yeah.
Like there was a whole event going on while he was fighting Morlun in the comics, and he was just like completely obsessed with fighting Morlun because Morlun can like literally just like sense him through the web of time and space. So like I think that is also interesting too, where you can tell those type of street level stories and also have it sort of be cosmic, but that's within the comics. And we
Right.
know that show to show works because we've done Kingpin from
Yeah.
Daredevil into Hawkeye, and we've also done Daredevil into She-Hulk, and that has worked.
Right.
I think for me, I'm less concerned about whether the movies or the shows are better. I'm more focused on how we're going to bridge that gap, right?
Yeah.
Because Bruce was like off doing his own thing on
Mhm.
Sakaar for all of She-Hulk, came back
Yep.
at the end. Here's my kid, everybody. That's the last we've heard of it. The Hulk dynamics moving forward are going to be all wacky because we got Big Daddy Hulk, Son Hulk, and She-Hulk. And
Mhm.
She-Hulk had the spotlight for a long time after Bruce did. So I think taking those dynamics from sort of like the the macro of the show, micro of the show, macro of the show, of the small lens of the
Yeah.
show, and blowing it up into the big lens of a movie, that makes a lot more sense. It will be interesting to see how that carries over. Also, where the hell is Shang-Chi?
Exactly.
Where's the
Yeah.
boy? Without a doubt, he has been one of the best Phase 4 projects for Marvel in my mind. And we have seen him one time.
That's it. Yeah.
I want more Shang-Chi, especially after what they did with Iron Fist. We
Mhm.
need a
More.
cool martial arts guy to save us. Big
Yeah.
time. Because, like, dude, that was such a great movie. And its third act was well done. Its origin story was well done. The humor wasn't forced. There's good representation. You were also able to tie it into the larger universe with how the rings work on a cosmic level. Like, it has all the elements of a classic Marvel movie, so to speak.
Mhm.
And we've only seen him one time. And part of me is happy for that because it means that the representation that we do have of Shang-Chi is good. But part of me is also sad because that makes me feel like we're not going to see him for a long time.
For a long time. Yeah.
So I think they have a lot of projects going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those projects and the universe as a whole would feel more complete to the fans. Maybe if we just had more cameos,
Yeah. No, I agree.
But at the same time as I'm saying that, I'm also realizing to a certain extent you need to justify those cameos. I mean, no matter what you do, you're going to piss somebody off. You can't make everybody happy, especially nerds like us. We nitpick like hell,
Yeah,
right? I'll be
exactly.
the first one to admit it. I've been on my soapbox for half of this freaking episode anyways. And that's just the reality.
Mhm.
But I think the more you have the new teams and the new characters interacting with each other, the bigger the payoff will be and the easier it will feel, in my opinion. You know, I think at this point we have lots of really good origin stories. We've got a Daredevil origin story. We've got
Yeah.
a She-Hulk origin story. We've got a
Right.
Kamala origin story. We've got Shang-Chi. We've got Cassie. We've got, why can't I remember her name? Kate Bishop.
Bishop, yeah.
We have Tom Holland, right? Loki's off doing his own thing, keeping the universe afloat. There's nothing saying that we couldn't have an interaction with him. We are chock full of origin stories. We are at the point now where it is time to bring them together, in my opinion.
I apologize. I thank you both for so.
Oh dear.
I think I just lost Zach. You're on mute.
I fixed.
There you go.
Goodness.
I could not figure out. All of a sudden, you all cut out. Couldn't figure it out.
Oh, fun.
Somehow muted this tab. Anyway,
We're
don't ask me how. Couldn't tell you.
just talking about how the cohesiveness of the universe. Me personally, you and I have talked about this a little bit, Zach, but I'm a little bit on my rant here about how we have lots of really good origin stories, and it feels scattered right now, which is why I think that a lot of the projects are kind of falling flat.
Yeah.
Because we have plenty of characters, but they're not really interacting with one another.
Yeah, I think
And it also might just be a matter of fact of like people miss a team up movie.
I definitely agree with that because the last team up movie was everybody that possible, but even before that, it was actually I wouldn't even count Civil War as a team up movie because that was.
I would.
Yeah, that's true, but it was like two team ups.
It's like two different sides of.
Right.
Right.
I
And
mean,
of
Civil
what it was.
War accomplished what it was supposed to. When it came out, I told Zach
Yeah.
about this. I thought the universe was too young to do it. But it's not a terrible movie.
No, it's
No.
not.
I think one of the reasons that saved it for me is Spider-Man. And that's totally biased. And
Yeah.
I will admit that.
No,
And I
yeah.
will also die on that hill. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, that's honestly what I think needs to happen.
I mean,
just
I feel like
bring these people together. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. I mean, that's why. I mean, you said, Chris, like it's falling a little flat, but now I feel like it's kind of leading in towards like the young Avengers now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, we
Yeah.
have what we have Kate Bishop, we have Ms. Marvel, we had for WandaVision her sons, but I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless, well, I mean, we have the multiverse, so some shenanigans could still occur.
And we do still have Agatha coming up, so who? There's nobody saying that some weird,
Yeah.
funky, witchy stuff couldn't be done with that.
Also, yeah, what the heck? What is happening? What? First off, why does Agatha need her own show? Good character,
didn't-
great.
yeah.
Why do you need your own show, lady?
I'm
Really
wondering about
interesting.
that.
Like, what is that going to accomplish? Also, and this is something most people we're not 100% sure if they're canon. Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways.
Yeah, I actually didn't watch Cloak and Dagger. Did you
I
guys
didn't
watch
either.
it?
I didn't watch it.
It
I
seems
heard it was really, really bad.
I heard it was. I think it was. It seemed like a CW drama show than it was like a superhero show. Which
Yeah.
their story is always linked together. Like I get it,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
like, but that's the thing. That's why technically we don't know. It might not be canon. Same thing with the Inhumans show. They tried it. It didn't work. MODOK's show. That's definitely not canon. And Hitmonkey, I highly doubt is canon.
Yeah.
If it's canon, I'd be astonished. But that's because they're not on. I think people like unless it's on Disney Plus and unless they say it, it's not canon. I'm pretty sure they just said something about some of the Netflix shows may or may not be canon anymore.
Mm.
Agents of Shield, I know is 100% not because that got weird.
Yeah, that did. That was so good for so long.
It was, and then it
Yeah. I mean,
not terrible, but not good either.
no. The thing is, it's also like at the end of the day, they have the final say for what's canon in the universe, you know,
Yeah.
because they're pick and choosing with Daredevil, and they introduced her in She-Hulk. But at the same time, Jessica Jones' first season was great.
David Tennant.
David Tennant as Kilgrave
amazing.
was
Yeah.
so scary.
I didn't think the Purple Man was going to ever show up.
Me neither. He was I would have lost that bet.
I think and then I thought about it, I'm like, why are they having Purple Man? He is. You want to talk about somebody who abuses his powers? There's a man who abuses the heck out of his powers.
God. Yeah.
First off, when they introduced him, I was like kind of worried you're actually going to make him purple. Thank God you didn't. Just a purple suit. I'm okay with that.
He also
he's
gets the
terrifying.
purple veins in that one point when he has to scream. That was cool. That was a nice touch.
Yes. Luke Cage's show. So actually, I think, which is very funny, people are like, but you can't have Mahershala Ali play Blade when he played another character. I'm like, but that character's gone. Who cares?
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah. Like you can have the same act, like an actor play two different characters in the MCU. There's nothing that say you can't.
Right.
I personally would be like, it'd be really weird if all of a sudden I have Blade meet with I think it was Cottonmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was
Cottonmouth.
Cottonmouth.
Yeah.
That would be weird. Have them crossing over, it would be weird, but Cottonmouth's not around anymore, so who cares?
I was about to say Cottonmouth is donezo. It would be super funny if, this is me. This is probably not going to happen. But imagining Luke Cage crossing over with Blade in some sort of big team up and them like writing a funny line being like, you look really familiar. Have we met before? Something like that where it's just like, we sort of like give that to the fans and then put it to bed and continue with the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Like that also gives you opportunities to do that. Like embrace it. You have total creative control and an insane amount of money behind your studio. Put it in some different spots. See how it shakes out. And I mean, I really am hopeful for upcoming projects, but I think stuff that we're gonna get the closest projects that we have upcoming, I'm interested about. Like Echo, I'm not really sure how to feel about that. Once again, love the representation, love that we're going to see more Kingpin. Not sure if this is just going to be an Echo show, a Daredevil show,
because Daredevil's in the
Kingpin
trailer.
show. Like,
yeah.
what do we do? It's definitely going to be a street level story, which is great, and we know that Marvel can excel at those types of stories. But where's the focus? We have so little on it that I think I'm hesitant. So
there he is. He came back.
He's back.
I am sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened. My power went off for about a half a second.
Oh, there you go. And so everything had to reboot.
Well, he has a better excuse. Mine was, I'm clearly a dummy, and I clicked the wrong button and muted the entire tab, and I was like, I can't hear anything. Couldn't hear a thing.
In case you missed, we were just going over like because we were talking about like all the shows and stuff, like you were just talking about before you went off, and then how we're excited. Well, we're looking to see what they're gonna do in the future, like Blade. Chris was talking about.
Yeah.
And then all the kind of stuff which shows were not canon, which was, and then like all these shows and the movies that they're doing now would probably leading up to the Young Avengers. But
Yeah. I think that's appropriate to do the Young Avengers because we need another hero team, but take your time, guys. Don't rush it.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
we were saying like based off of the young heroes, Spider-Man, Kate, Kamala. I don't want to say Scar, but unfortunately, I feel like he's gonna be involved, and part of me doesn't want him to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say Shuri. I think she's not that she's too old, but I think she's more an Avengers member than she would be a Young
Yeah,
Avengers.
that's fair.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we don't have the Maximoff kids anymore.
No.
But again, we could still have magical mumbo jumbo multiverse shenanigans. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't want to say I'm worried. I'm not to an extent. But I think what they should do after Secret Wars, if they're going to continue, is take your time. You don't need to rush. Have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like remember your roots. Like, yes, the beginning you had the board over you. That's fine. You don't need it anymore. But don't like we've had so many shows and movies. Like you want to do one show, one movie, maybe two shows in a movie, maybe two movies in a show in the year. Okay. What has it been? I can't even remember. It's been like multiple shows and movies in the same year. And I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah. And that's when the quality dips.
Yes.
When you overload us, when you fast track projects, that's when we get crappy writing. And that's when we get poor development. And that's when we get a foggy plot. And then that's how the universe falls apart. So, Ian, one of the things when you were working on your technical difficulties, one of the things that I mentioned to Andrew and Zach is that my big focus is how are we going to take the success of some of the shows and sort of bring it to bigger projects when we do like big team ups. That's kind of my biggest focus. When the new projects take out, no matter how the universe is doing, I will probably watch them because I love this type of source material. I grew up with it and I'm just a fan. I always have been, even before, Iron Man hit the big screen, even before Blade hit the big screen.
I was going to say back when back when everything was just like sporadic and it was kind of like in association, not Marvel Studios.
Right.
I mean, I want to see a Midnight Suns project, but now I'm worried. Because the Blade movie is changing directors again, and I think there were rumors that Mahershala Ali almost walked off because of one of the directors.
Yeah.
Blade has been so hyped up and so looked forward to for so long, and I feel like it's just in development hell. I feel like we're not going to see that until 2030.
I honestly hope that doesn't happen because it's one of the most beloved characters in the Marvel universe, and we've seen obviously there was this Snipes tape. It's time that we get a fresh approach to the character, especially in this cinematic universe.
I don't know why he has a daughter though. Sorry, I had to back up for that. I don't want to scream in y'all's ear. But coming off the comic books, I don't know why it makes sense. He would have a kid. Don't know why she needs to. That she doesn't need to exist. I don't know why she's now in the books and is like the focus. But whatever.
Dude, this goes back to the, writers of some of the Marvel comics. That's just lazy writing.
Yeah,
it's fair. Yeah.
Yep, but it's just I don't know. Like I'm worried. And here's the thing. And Chris and I have always said it on our podcast. If you're an MCU fan, cool. You're a comic books fan, cool. Try like we know it's gonna happen. Try not to hate on the other. Like ew comics, ew MCU. Like no, it's its own thing. Literally, the MCU is its own universe designation.
Yeah.
Whether they want to call themselves 616, Feige, I love you, but no, it's I understand it sounds better than 19999 whatever. I don't know how many nines there are. It sounds better, but no. Sorry, that's the comic books, my guy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
bet you he didn't even say, yeah, call it that. I'm sure somebody, an executive a producer or whoever told, I'm sure part of me is like Sam Raimi probably asked somebody and they said, oh yeah, 616. And he's like, oh, okay. And ran with it. And somebody else is like, no, we have one of those. You can't call it
Yeah.
that. And too
Right.
late, movies out the door.
Yeah, that yeah, I agree with that. But we have to also look at some of the movies that actually did work in this portion of the universe.
I don't care who you are. If you say Wakanda Forever did not work, you're wrong.
I didn't
Oh,
say
yeah.
that. I
Not
wasn't
you.
even-
Not you,
Yeah.
Ian. I'm not
Yeah.
going after you. I'm not going after you. I'm going after the general people. Because I
Oh,
have
that
seen people complain
Dude.
about that. I literally saw, I think it was
How?
so it was a TikTok edit of like, all the heroes now. And like our heroes now, Ironheart, Ms. Marvel, Shuri, Black Panther, and then it's like what I grew up, and it throws in that funk genre of like, yeah, this is it, and I'm like, no, like you don't hate on them.
Right.
It's an evolution of the character. It's a title.
Mhm.
yeah, I actually like Wakanda Forever because I thought it was a very nice tribute to Chadwick Boseman who tragically passed away, and also
Yeah.
the continuation of the other characters, the developments, and
The introduction of another civilization that nobody knows about.
yeah, I actually liked that movie. That was one of the movies that for me worked.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then of course we have the Spider-Man movies, Far From Home, and of course No Way Home. Those worked for me as well, especially No Way Home because that really talked about the multiverse.
God.
That was fire.
Such a treat
That was
to
epic.
be in the theaters when that movie came out.
Oh my god! I went. So I remember I went on a Thursday. I had work the next day. I didn't care. I went I saw it with my brother in New York City on a Thursday. So technically, the night before it officially released, every seat was filled.
Yeah.
I was in there in my Spider-Man outfit. I didn't care. There were several people that did it. I saw that movie, I think, 3 times in like 4 days. And I don't think I will ever do that for any other movie. Well, I shouldn't say that. I might do it for Secret Wars if we get good. But
Yeah.
as of right now, there is no other movie I've done that for. I've never seen any other Marvel movie 3 times in the same weekend it came out. I literally saw it Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, and it was a great movie, great callbacks. Yeah, being in the theater was a lot of screaming, a lot of like, yeah, like
Yeah.
that's my boy stuff. But then, honestly, as comic book nerds as we are, when I go back and I think about it, I'm like, part of me is just like, so did you guys just all create 3 timelines per character? Because like a universe where they didn't get pulled, a universe where they did get pulled, and then a universe where they got cured and put back. Like that's what I'm like. Hold on, how does this stack up in the multiverse? And I'm like, don't think too far. That's thinking too far.
just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What else
Yeah.
was good?
Yeah, I also felt that worked, and some people might disagree with me with this. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I felt that worked.
I will agree. It worked. When people like, we should have seen more of the multiverse. It was, other than Loki, it was their first foray.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
Foray.
Or
And I have sometimes whenever I listen to myself, I feel like I'm about to switch, like I'm turning into Elmer Fudd. My R's and my W switch. But into the multiverse, that's not just looking at it from an outside perspective. Like Loki season 1 was kind of looking at it from an outside perspective, kind of hopping in it a little bit, but not that much. This one was like, no, you are making waves across the multiverse. I like the incursions. I think that will definitely be a key point to Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, because if you've read the comic books, like we all have 2015 Secret Wars. That's what leads it to that, because the multiverse is dying and there's only 2 universes left. And Doctor Doom just says, "Cool, Beyonders, I'm going to take your powers, make a universe." Still somehow screwed it up after becoming God, restart everything pretty much.
Yeah.
And I see that story playing a key role in the Secret Wars movie. Either that and or a mix of that in the first one, of like, here's Battle World, here's kind of what's left. It's a, I don't know. Mostly I see 2015. I liked, we got a little representation with the Inhumans, with Black Bolt. I like the what if of like, what if, because Carol Danvers in like wherever she's shown up has kind of been like, what if it wasn't me? And we see what if it wasn't her in that movie? You know, what if she wasn't the one who went on that plane? Captain Carter. I also remember I thought I spoiled who was it, Chris? Mr. Who did I spoil?
It was so in oh gosh, I gotta call it the right name because I call it a different name. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
I was showing him something from YouTube, and
it was a thumbnail of John Krasinski as Reed Richards before I had seen the movie. It was like was literally going to see it the next day, and Zach got so nervous and immediately clicked out of the tab and I was looked directly at the camera and had like a nervous smile, and I was like, "Oh,
that's fan art. That's fan art. Don't worry about it." And he's just like, "Dude, I already got spoiled. Don't worry." And I'm like, "Thank God,
spoiled. I had seen it already." Which I'm usually very good about avoiding spoilers, which sucked. I will say I liked the way that they approached the multiverse, especially with Doctor Strange. I also like that he wasn't Sorcerer Supreme yet. I think that was cool. I was going to have like serious issues if we came to it, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm the guy now." I like that Wong was kind of just like holding that mantle. I will say that.
Well, he was, and then he blipped. So it's like, well, you're technically dead, so somebody has to be. And then it's like, "Oh, you're back. Great. You don't get your position back." And it's like,
right.
What do you mean I don't?
Right. Yeah, no, that was handled well. I do think that there was a little bit of a disconnect between Wanda from WandaVision and Wanda from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I would have liked maybe a scene showing us how it corrupted her, not just, "Oh, it corrupted her." Like, no, show me
she's
how.
Just the bad guy now. And I was like, I can accept this because she's a cool bad guy when she is a bad guy in the comics, but we got like nothing building.
We got a heel turn. We got whiplash with how quickly that she changed.
Well, I think what they could have done was the end credit scene from WandaVision put in the movie. I think that would have made more sense, you know.
Yeah.
Because then she starts to say, "Okay, my kids are out there in the multiverse. You know, I have to go find them."
Mm-hmm.
The thing you know that people kept reminding her was, "These are not your kids. This is someone else's, another Wanda's kids from another universe." And it took just as you see the other variant of herself to realize that. You're like, and then I love the performances, you know, especially Elizabeth's when she's just horrified at what she's become.
Mm-hmm. My thing for that was, look, I understand you want your kids. I don't know. Find a universe where your kids exist, but you don't. I don't know. Like, because they would have missed their mother at that point and would have done anything to get you back. Not, let me go take the version of my kids from another version of me. Because what would she have done? She would have also fought you.
Yeah.
It's been an endless cycle of nonsense.
Yeah, I also like the parallels between her and Steven in this movie because he's really lost here. Because, in fact, his other variant, his evil variant, is like, "Are you happy?" Because I've been looking throughout the multiverse to see a version of myself where I'm happy, but I'm not.
I like to imagine that. What do you call it? It was God, Sinister Strange, I think.
Yeah.
I actually have give me a second.
Sorcerer Supreme?
Sinister Strange. Sorry, I have the Sanctum Sanctorum Lego set over here, and so they named him. And so yeah, Sinister Strange. Part of me wants to know if did he find Strange Supreme, see that, and go, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not messing with this guy. Because it would have been really funny if he just went, I'm not even the most powerful evil version of us, Steven. And I would have been like, aha, go watch What If, you know? No,
Yeah.
never mentioned that man ever. I'm like,
Yeah, this one also bothered me by the Illuminati because they were so certain that every Stephen Strange was evil, especially with how their Strange had almost destroyed, their universe. And I'm like, especially with Reed Richards, I was like, Reed, you don't know this Wanda. She's dangerous.
right, you know your version of Wanda, which we don't know her history. Maybe she didn't get as powerful. She clearly didn't have the Darkhold, but maybe she didn't get as powerful even Wanda pre-Darkhold, right? But we don't know. So yeah, they probably like, we know who this is. We can handle her. Like, yeah, yours, yes. This one, no.
Yeah, this one was way too dangerous, especially with the Darkhold book.
I mean, she literally just said, they literally were like, Black Bolt can disintegrate you with just a whisper from his mouth, and she went, "What mouth?" And then it was gone. It's like, gee, yeah. Reality warping anybody?
Yeah, she became the Nexus being, which is what made her so interesting. And I love evil Wanda as a character because she's so scary. I think I just had an issue with how we got her. But overall, I really did like the movie. I love Sam Raimi's direction just in general. I think he's a great director. I'm a big horror lover too. So if I see his name on any Marvel project, it's so good.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of good projects in this phase to be excited about. Ian, when you were off doing your thing, I mentioned Shang-Chi. I think that was a really, really great project.
That's another project that worked.
Mm-hmm.
There are very few films in this phase that work, but those are the ones that we mentioned are the ones that have worked.
Yeah.
So the problem with that was like, sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, go ahead, please.
No, it was like, and Chris brought this point up also that you only see him once. You see Shang-Chi the movie, and then that's all you see of him.
Yeah, where is he? Where else is he?
So I just looked up because this is what phase 5.
Yeah.
So I just looked it up. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. People were like, yeah. Guardians 3. I don't think the hate that it gets. I don't think it deserves all of it. Adam Warlock could have been better.
Yeah.
When people were like harping on that, what was it? Star-Lord, why wouldn't he have his helmet or his boots? Because it literally shows he went to sleep drunk and woke up with a hangover and then went into all of this. Like, yeah, of course that man didn't get everything he needed. So let's see. And then show Secret Invasion, I Am Groot, Loki, What If. So we're supposed to get Echo, Agatha, Darkhold Diaries, whatever the heck that is. So phase 5 is supposed to end by 2025. Based on what I'm looking at the wiki.
And Agatha is the final project?
No, it's apparently Spider-Man freshman year. I don't know. I don't think that needs to exist.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Daredevil Born Again. Deadpool 3 is the next movie.
Yeah.
Captain America: Brave New World. Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbolts. And Blade.
Thunderbolts is all of these projects we have been hearing about since like 2020, and they've just been getting pushed back.
Yeah.
That's I think that's also one of the things that is
Ironheart is now a phase 6 movie. Phase 6 show.
Yeah.
So that got pushed.
I don't think I think Agatha's only been pushed once.
Yeah.
From what I can remember. Blade has been pushed countless times. Thunderbolt has been pushed countless times. Fantastic Four has been pushed countless times. Captain America has been pushed a couple times. Not as much as the other projects.
Yeah.
And so I think they're trying to I'm hoping, I want to be optimistic. I'm trying to be wary and optimistic at the same time, where I'm hoping that they're pushing it back because they are giving it the credit and the time that each of these projects needs. But part of me is also suspicious because they keep getting pushed back, which means that they can't agree on creative directions, or all the pieces aren't there, or they feel all the pieces aren't there. So it's also definitely a little bit of a riser for anxiety at the same time.
I'm concerned. I just looked more into the Spider-Man freshman year.
It's going to be animated, right?
Yes, I just want to name the characters.
Okay.
I'm not going to name anybody who's acting. Nobody. Okay. Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Yeah. May Parker. Okay. Harry Osborn. We knew that. Dr. Octavius. Nico Monroe. Lonnie Lincoln. So we're getting Tombstone and a member of, and Nico is from the Runaways.
Yeah.
Bentley Whitman. I don't remember who. I don't know who that's supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Oh boy.
Amadeus Cho. Norman Osborn, Unicorn, Chameleon, Scorpion. Yeah, Speed Demon, Tarantula, Rhino.
Speed Demon?
Yeah, and Doctor Strange. This is all supposed to, again, season 1. Marvel Studios presents Spider-Man freshman year, in which Peter Parker's life, while getting ready for his high school orientation, is forever changed by events that send him on a journey like none before. You're trying to tell me that he met Doctor Strange and Daredevil in his... No.
Yeah. Even they also preface this, I'm pretty sure they prefaced this with saying that this was going to be similar to a what if story, or they said this was going to be in a different universe.
If you're going to make it a different universe, I'm fine with that.
That being said, that's a lot of names for one season.
Yep.
That's a lot of names.
Those are also the people that I know have significance. There's a few people with just names that I'm like, I don't know who you are. So, but yeah, Speed Demon.
That one's a little out there. I didn't expect that we would see him.
He also does not. This art style is weird to me. Anyway, but yeah, there's too much. There's a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the freshman year kind of seems like it's coming from the point because with No Way Home, they rebooted Spider-Man.
Yeah. So if this was supposed to be like if this is somehow the universe is going to magically change his origin, and this is it, okay.
Yeah, well, they did say that this is in a universe where he works for Norman Osborn as Spider-Man, correct? Or am I misunderstanding that? Because I thought I heard something to that effect.
I will find out.
Where Oscorp is essentially kind of like sponsoring Spider-Man, which I will say piques my interest.
Well,
but at the same time, if you're going to throw all those big, you're essentially throwing in a modified Sinister Six in the first season. Yeah, that makes me worry.
So this doesn't say anything about that. However,
so I could
because you made mention of that, I just remembered No Way Home. Norman Osborn's confused. He's like, "There's somebody in my house. I can't find Oscorp." So this is not the same universe.
Okay, then.
Oscorp doesn't exist in the MCU.
Yeah, it doesn't. You're right. Oh boy,
Ian is.
Yeah, freshman year was always one of those that it was like,
yeah,
this could be cool, but I don't know that we need it.
Ian, your face says it all.
Yeah, it does.
Folks, this is what happens, when you're putting too much stock and packing so much into pretty much one specific project that it immediately falls apart. And this is what's constantly happening.
Yeah, I mean, I rewatched Spectacular Spider-Man for the umpteenth time recently. That had the Sinister Six, that had a lot of characters, but everybody got at least an episode with Spider-Man before they became the Sinister Six.
And it's also even a show.
Yeah, it was a show. Freshman year is supposed to be a show, but I don't know.
You're talking about 6 or 7 different origins. That's you might as well turn it into a vignette. I gotta say, I hate that I'm sounding so pessimistic about a Spider-Man project too, because like
That's
historically,
my boy.
that is like Marvel's ace in the hole. You know, that's like some of the best superhero movies that we get out there. And so the fact that it's, I don't know, it's an alternative approach. I'm willing to approach it with an open mind. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
It's just
You said that was
It's-
2025, Zach, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like
Well,
that. Okay.
The phase 5 seemed like it was going to be. I don't even know how long that was supposed to be, how many years. But now Ironheart is in phase 6. When I remember, she was supposed to be phase 5.
Right. Yeah, they pushed her back. Well, that also probably has to do with the whole Jonathan Majors timeline and what's going on.
Yeah.
Because she was definitely slated to be part of that Young Avengers team that we've been talking about, and now they're not sure if they're moving forward with him because of what's going on.
Like I said, you want to. I would like, and you and I have talked about this, Chris.
Yeah.
Give me my Kang Dynasty.
Right.
Get toward the end of the movie, nuke them all. Doctor Doom comes out of the smoke and goes, "This is mine now,"
Give us Doom.
and then make Secret Wars. I'm fine with that, but
Yeah.
I would like Kang Dynasties first.
Yes. Because we have established him already.
Yes, exactly.
Well, folks, this is definitely going to be an ongoing discussion. Like I said, this is part 1 in our
Oh,
yeah.
I was about to say, even after, I'm already thinking after editing. Good Lord, this might be our longest episode too.
I mean,
Yeah.
but at the
Yes.
same time, the fact that we're talking so long about this proves that this is something that we all want to see succeed. And I know
Yeah.
we've talked about a lot of problems and issues that we have with the universe as a whole. We have talked about good stuff too.
Mhm.
This hasn't been a very pessimistic conversation by any means, but I think it's definitely important to mention that the fact that we want to keep talking about this makes me hopeful. The fact that discussions like this are happening in the fandom makes me happy. Whether it's just between me and Zach, or the 4 of us, or other talks I have, or unwilling participants who listen to me on Thanksgiving after I had too many glasses of wine. Right? Like the conversations are happening. You know?
I don't even need that to talk about this with my family. They have no choice but to listen to me.
I do. I am the unfortunate nerd in the family. Well, not unfortunate. I'm the happy nerd in the family, but for them, it's unfortunate. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is going to be a good place to stop for now, but we will obviously revisit this discussion in part 2.
Yes, we will,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, of
yes.
course.
I
Thank you
love
for
being
coming.
able.
Yeah.
I
It
was a lot
love
of
being able
fun.
to talk about
Thanks
this
for coming
stuff.
on. Yeah.
I get sick of I love Zach, but
Hey,
there's so many times that we like talk about projects, and I'm like, X was stupid, and he was like, yeah, it was, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad we agree. But so it's like it's a good thing, but it's nice to have other opinions every now and then.
Yeah.
listen, you want me to play devil's advocate more, Chris? I can.
Oh, I could too.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I'll agree with you, and then I'll fire back at you with the opposite. But
Hot take: I think Malekith deserved to die. I'm just kidding.
No,
That's
I
not a
mean
hot
it's
take.
like
It's
it's
not a hot
like
take.
me and Ian both like doing episodes together, but it's also like we also want to get other people's opinions as well on this. You know,
Yeah.
Like, you know, we do all these videos. You know, me and Ian know what we think. You know, but we also like getting you guys' opinions also. So that's why we liked having you on today. So
Yeah, it's always refreshing.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, come to Forgotten Heroes. You want to hear the not bleeped version of this? Ian, please keep yourself. I don't want Big Brother YouTube to come after you, but I
Yeah,
don't.
he said to me that, yeah, Zach emailed me in the private chat saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was like, please have me on more. Please have me on more. I'm so sorry. Like, I get it, but again,
Zach, you and Chris are always welcome to come back to the show.
Absolutely.
you know what? Next time, if I'm going to say something like my alternate name for Star Fox, I'm going to give you a warning before in the chat.
Oh,
before I
Jesus.
say it.
Thank you for the warning. Thank you.
I
Appreciate
did,
that.
but I'll give you a bigger heads up next time.
Anyway. Well, this is it for us. I'm Ian Miller.
I'm Andrew Smith.
And this has been me a talk with Noah Smith. Have a good night, folks.
All right, and then we'll do our exit. All right, this has been Forgotten Heroes with guests. So join us next time for another comic book character. All right, good.
Bye, folks.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Good talking, y'all.
If you'd like to follow us on YouTube, just hit that like button and subscribe.